Welcome back, everyone. It's the day I became a viewer of KHANTENT for you, but we're talking about the day I became a god and the finale of the show. But before watching that, you should go to subscribestar.com/KHANTENT, pledge $10 and get yourself all the bonus episodes. And here is an advertisement about some shirts. Hey kids, want to impress your friends and induce sexual arousal in your neighbors? KHANTENT t-shirts!
Wow, I've never been more impressed in my life with anything!
KHANTENT now has official t-shirt merchandise, and you can get yourself some by clicking below the video or in the Teespring link in the description. With designs like the classic KHANTENT logo.
Or this!
I've got a shirt on too.
Or this. KHANTENT! New designs will be coming all the time, so always stay tuned on that Teespring store and look for fresh designs. They're a great way to support the show and share your KHANTENT pride. So get out there, wear them, and get into KHANTENT. KHANTENT!
世界が終わり、滅びようとも、この思い出だけは消えたりはせん。
Wow, these shirts sure are better than the ending of this show was.
You didn't love it, did you? Was not to your taste?
Well, I'll tell you, I've never been so sad to see something go exactly the way I expected. And I also never thought I'd say that about something that went like this.
I agree, because I did not expect the last, over a third of the show to be a mental illness simulator or mental disability simulator,
Caretaker
really.
simulator,
Yes,
I guess.
yes.
This show is basically two shows.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, picking up where we left off, because there's two episodes of it still being what it was.
We got Basketball Joe episode where two bros are badasses and have fun at the summer festival. That was fun. There's a retarded thing of my bro, you failed to make the big jump during the big game. Make the big jump when it counts onto this moving truck in the middle of traffic. And it helps everyone emotionally heal from that incident.
That moment, so coming back to this show, again, it's been weeks now since we saw
months.
it. So I was all right, warm me back in. What do I need to care about? And at first I was kind of charmed by just there's a lot of animation in this show. Mm-hmm. It is still really good looking.
Yeah.
Surprisingly so. I don't remember. I was even coming off the heels of Jujutsu Kaisen to watch this, and that's not a show with bad animation.
No.
It's got some crazy fights and stuff, but most of it is just characters kind of standing there talking and looking kind of cool, I guess. This just had the characters are always satisfying to look at. They're always moving around, making a funny face, doing something cute. So that element of it was good. Most of episode 6 though was just them hanging out at a festival, like you said. It was very standard anime, bunch of characters hanging out, having fun. It's paced well. I think that's the biggest thing this show kind of has going for it, is that it's very watchable.
Yeah, that's true.
All the characters have such different personalities and reactions to things that it'll be something happens, and then each of the 5 characters there says a different reaction to it.
Incidentally, I'm actually surprised. Oh wait, no, she is there. The newscaster lady on the top left, I didn't think she would be here, because she sure didn't seem like she'd be a recurring staple character, but she is. This newscaster, who the main character had a crush on, became a mahjong genius to get close to, is now just one of the boys and hangs out with the crew.
It's unfortunate that that basketball scene is the episode suddenly ratchets up into over the top the way that it had been at its best in that scene where the main character is riding a motorcycle, jumping off a motorcycle onto a truck so he can save Lolly Girl from freezing to death in the back of a refrigerated truck. That was fun. Most of that and the next episode is about them making a movie.
That's right, yeah.
In both of those situations were it was just very fine, passable TV, I guess. Yeah. I'm not invested in any of the characters enough to to remember just them hanging out and doing things.
Those 2 episodes in particular are information vacuums. I have no idea the details of what happens other than school festival, basketball, made a movie. Once we get past that, I remember more of the details. Because, again, the dichotomy, the switch between the type of show this is so staggering and massive that, everything that came before kind of doesn't matter anymore.
So I described this show in my notes as being Haruhi by way of Little Busters. And I compared it to Haruhi in that, that show was 5 kooky people just doing wacky fun adventures, and one of them happens to be God, so weird shenanigans happen sometimes. And the show is at its best when it's like Haruhi. But that show also had like a story and intellectual content, like these undercurrents of things that were intriguing running under it. Little Busters, which is written by the same author as this, Jun Maeda, is more similar in terms of like it's literally just kids hanging out, having fun, bouncing off of each other for like most of the episodes until it's time for the cry porn. And even that show, like, I would say that Jun Maeda's shows, they all kind of have this problem of just becoming something completely different. It's always like people hanging out, and then now everyone's life sucks and they're all sad about it, you know? And Little Busters is kind of like that too, but even that show had more like lead into it, more of like intrigue and build up. This show is really just straight up like, I mean, we have this looming idea that the world's going to end.
Yeah.
You predicted that there would be, that she was going to say, oh, actually, my world is just coming to an end.
I literally wrote down in my notes while I was watching these episodes, I know this bitch is gonna pull some linguistic bullshit on me, and I know it's gonna be her world, she's gonna die or something, because there's no way the world's gonna end in this kind of show.
She phrased it the exact same way you did in the previous episode.
Roll the clip, people.
Oh my god, here's the twist, The world's gonna end in 30 days. She actually, everything was just a coincidence. She's going to die, tragically. She has cancer and has 30 days to live. So her world will end in 30 days.
You are most likely correct. But yeah, so of course that was the case. It was just like, this is a show about these kids having the fun times and then wishing they could get those fun times back when they are suddenly taken away, and they have to do something to try to bring your girl back. It's exactly what you thought would happen up to this point, except that the climax and the way in which things get dark and sad is just so baffling.
Let's discuss some of those details. So at the end of episode 8, after doing fun movie things, or end of episode 7 rather, like a super hacker kid is appearing in the narrative now actively, and we are discovering that like, so the grandpa, the old professor they're searching for, appears to be Hina's grandfather, and like the result of all his crazy cyborg or fucking techno and medicinal research appears to be like within her. What does that mean? Okay, cue episode 8, where we get a flashback to Hina with her grandpa, where he like took care of her when she was a kid. Her mom is dead, and her dad abandoned her. And so in this episode, they decide to go see the dad and find out what the backstory, why did he do that? Who abandons your daughter? That seems like a pretty shitty thing to do. So the backstory we learn is that yes, this is a real human being. She was this guy's daughter, and that she wasn't always a god. She became a god, presumably on that day I became a god. So she had an illness. She had something called low-go syndrome, which is an unspecified, apparently mental disability of some kind, where she, in just kind of a generic way, can't communicate.
I don't know why it wasn't just called low-functioning autism.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, that
just
would sum it up.
She just acts like a baby. She just acts like a toddler.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
Can't really communicate, makes noises instead of words, and is retarded.
Maybe they wanted to avoid the laughter that I would have if they just said something like the word autism while watching an anime, but...
I don't know what else to call it.
You know why? You know why they had to make it something different? Because there's this hook. No one found a cure. But maybe.
Oh, right.
But
right.
maybe there will be a cure for this specific, particular.
Well, so, okay, so like, rewinding this back for a second, something was put in a quantum.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen.
I'm jumping ahead of myself,
we're getting. Okay, right. So the point, Hina was.
I'll point out, some good things about that episode with her dad. I like the part where, like, he's like, won't it be awkward if we go see him? And she's like, well, he abandoned me, so it'll be awkward for him. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
That was great. And she was right. That was exactly the case. But yeah, we basically find out that she used to be, like, unable to talk or anything, and, like, only 322 days ago,
I
something
think
like
she said.
that.
Whatever, yeah.
She became God because of whatever. So yeah, the explanation for that, which the entire next episode is dedicated to the silver-haired kid who we've had around. He hasn't really done anything. This is his time.
Super Hakada, indeed.
We learn his backstory. He was an abused child. his parents got killed, and he was like, hell yeah,
Yeah,
fuck them.
yeah.
So he became a super hacker working for the government, I guess.
To get out of like the crimes he'd committed, he was brought under some benevolent CEO of some miscellaneous company or something. Yeah, so he works. I think he uses powers for good. Maybe.
Does he have? He doesn't have literal powers like she does, right?
His eyes fucking glow. How does his eyes glow? Does he have like contacts in everything? Okay, here's the thing. He doesn't appear to have superpowers. Super hacker-da. He is a super hacker.
Super hacker.
And he just has access to like information all over the network. He's a super hacker. And clearly, like, he's similar to Hina. This is not accidental that the two operate similarly. And while he, is just like a normal kid with like a genius IQ or whatever and can do hacking stuff, break into vault banks and steal money or who knows, crash the stock market, I don't know, whatever the fuck. Hina seems to have it more like organically, like the same kind of power. And we'd noticed previously, I believe I had said in our last episode, now, a lot of what Hina does is explainable by the power of Google. If I just had the power of Google, like I don't know, the way that it's presented in like Ghost in the Shell is that you're human, but like your browser's always right here in your vision, and you could just access that and Google big fat titties at any time and it'd pop right up. But with Hina, it's like coded into the way she believes that she is or something. And I've got to wonder, was that like a good thing to do to a child? Okay, you know what? I don't have time to get in all the fucking moral ramifications.
I don't even understand what was going. Like the super hacker finds out that her granddad made a quantum computer. Mm-hmm. The quantum computer's in her brain.
It is in her brain.
It's a quantum computer. It's in her. So okay,
guys,
when this first revealed, I was like, okay, so she is a quantum computer. Like, is that like I thought she
like
was
a
an
robot
android.
or something?
Like,
yeah, right.
That seemed like they were trying. No, they just put it in her brain.
It's in her brain, literally.
And then they come and take it out.
They just take it out, and she
Why?
goes.
It's too dangerous because if you had a quantum computer in your brain, it would be like being a god. That's what the lady says. She's like, it would be like having the power of a god. Quantum computers are real!
Yeah, they exist right now. Okay, see, here's the thing. I am a computer science degree holder from a university in real life. I have that. I know what a computer is and how it works. So I did a little research into what a quantum computer is, because I mean, we didn't cover this, it wasn't part of the normal curriculum. Just because I thought researching what a quantum computer is would be more fun than watching this anime. And so it was. A quantum computer is not a magical cure disease magic thing.
No.
What it is a more powerful possible computer. So we're talking about more computations per second, not it can do anything. Specifically, I think you might enjoy this, ladies and gentlemen. What makes a quantum computer special and different is that a quantum computer operates as opposed to what's known as bits, which are zeros and ones represented like numerically, but what it actually is in a computer system is either a strong or a weak charge. A computer recognizes that and operates on things in binary. On basically everything in computing can be boiled down to on or off, and like calculations are made based on the massive numbers of stored either on or off switches in a computer, right? That's all kind of interesting. What makes a quantum computer different is instead of a bit that only knows a 0 or 1, it uses a thing called qubits, which aren't necessarily one specific thing. They're like any kind of unit of information that exists in a quantum state, which means that it has special properties. Like you could use they were talking about like neutrons or neurons, no, neutrons, or like electrons can be used for this. The specific thing doesn't matter. But here are some features they have that make them special. What is it? Features like something called superposition, which is where with a normal bit, you have a 0 or a 1, but with superposition, there's a cloud of unknowableness where
Schrodinger's bit.
Yeah, it's multiple. It can store multiple information at once, but upon examination, it collapses into a finite value, like a 0 or a 1 or whatever. And there's another thing called entanglement, and entanglement is fucking nuts. Entanglement is where two qubits can be entangled, such as they share the same properties no matter how far apart they are. We're talking like miles, we're talking like light years apart, and they maintain the same state. So you could have instant information transmission if you change the state of something like a galaxy apart, theoretically, instant transmission of these things. Point being, this is all very interesting. And what it does, some of these things are theoretical, some are being applied in real life right now. It would just make a computer able to do things faster. There is no magic
It's
that
just
would
a way better computer. than
It's
the ones we
just
have.
a way better computer.
Go watch some videos about the ones they're building. Google's building a quantum computer.
That's right. They're real. They exist. The point is, none of that does absolutely anything to make a little girl go from retarded to normal.
Well, first of all, a quantum computer, even now, is like the size of a room.
Yeah, and it fits in her brain. I stress again, in her brain. Well, maybe they used entanglement so the computer's outside, but just the
Like,
information.
she also was like predicting the future and shit before. Like, I don't.
Yeah. See, okay, and this
How
is
did
the
the
other
quantum
thing.
computer figure out how the guy was going to walk across
How he
the
was
floor
going to
that
walk
time?
on the floor? Did she crunch the numbers of possibility, knowing, predicting his movements and studying what he had done up to this point? How would Google help you do that? Okay, she's got powerful computers. She's running theoretical processes all the time. But there's definitely some strain on what the fuck. This doesn't make sense if you
Well,
just
I
have
mean,
that
also
Google in
like
your head.
the internet in this world. I guess they have like full dive internet immersion, like Ghost in the Shell.
They never. This isn't the future.
There's an extremely Ghost in the Shell 2-esque
yeah.
scene of the guy like diving into the literal sea of information, swimming through the water with all these buildings made of ones and zeros. And then there's this goldfish, this shining goldfish that is, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Are you a malevolent piece of code by chance?"
I've got to
Like-
destroy it. Oh, I got to
He's
save
like
the web,
fighting
bro.
pieces of code to catch this goldfish before
becomes
this giant
Digimon
whale eats
for
it.
5 minutes.
It's pretty funny.
And then the whale, oh, it is her. She's got a giant supercomputer in the thing. So she just is like a supercomputer with tons of information and processing power, apparently. Like a supercomputer. It's way better
Quantum
than
computer.
a quantum computer, which is better than a supercomputer. Okay. I mean, so
But they
everything
pull
she
it
does,
out of her brain, and then that's
Yeah.
it for that.
And they pull it out of the brain. So she gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
They try to save her. They can't do it. These are like professional kidnappers, I guess, or whatever. They kidnap her. They cut it out of her brain. And like the way that this is presented as like justified is that like several world leaders are shown like mouth down, so we don't know who they are. They're like far too dangerous to be out in the real world.
That's
Far
it,
too
yeah.
dangerous. We can't allow this to be out there.
Yes, this real technology that is hopefully going to be consumer grade eventually
It is. Yeah,
cannot be let into the world because it's too powerful for this girl to have a quantum computer in her brain that just, which by the way, what she is doing with this power is living normal life.
Yes.
Like,
I mean, I suppose if she was, like, I don't know, forced to work for some government to do super soldier work. But the point is, the technology exists. See, this is where another thing happens. One old man developed this technology, like, by himself.
Yeah.
Also, our main character, his parents were, like, students. They might have been involved in the project.
they could probably
Okay.
recreate it eventually.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So the point is you can't like stop technology by turning a girl back retarded, which I say,
That's literally what happens.
which I say with all respect, because Hina's a good girl.
They cut the fucking thing out of her brain. And then
Literally.
it's like, okay, so first we have an episode of she's gone, just because he had to force that low point dramatic moment in the show where silver-haired guy like shows up to school and does all the same things with the kids that the girl had done.
By the way, can I make a moment about this? That we've now passed the 0 day when the world ended.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, as a guy watching the show, I was deeply unsatisfied that there was no like animation highlight of cluck clunk, we've reached 0.
No, it doesn't even get
They literally
mentioned.
skipped that day.
Yeah.
So that sucked.
She just kind of gets picked
How
up.
did she know she was going to get kidnapped that day? Did she predict the future and know that all these forces would come together on this one day to capture her? How the fuck did she know that? It doesn't make sense. It's stupid. But who cares? That's how I feel about that.
The whole episode where they're just like moping around, like missing her, and then at the end,
For months. For months.
at the end of this, like they recreate everything they had done. They do all the same things, I guess.
Yeah, that
with
one
silver
silver
guy.
hair,
And then
yeah.
he's like, "Hey, by the way, I made you do all the same things so that you'd be like, oh man, I sure did doing all those things with her. I should go save her."
Because he was expressly forbidden for revealing this information in a straightforward way by his CEO, mother/employer lady. So he had to weirdly recreate all these situations to trick them into asking him so he could answer the question and help the guy get where he needed to go. Why not just literally kidnap the guy and bring him to the place where you know she is? Did she forbid kidnapping the guy too? You help him in the end. You do that exact thing. Was it necessary to like befriend these? Like he's like going to takoyaki with these guys like, oh man, such a hard mission I'm doing right now. My whole life I'm organizing as I'm eating fucking takoyaki and hanging out with my friends and like playing video games. Oh, what a labor I'm enacting to help these guys wake up. There was definitely more you could have done, dude. There was definitely more. It's your own fucking fault.
More direct things he could have done, probably, than
There
this
must have
weird
been.
play. So then our main character finds out where she's being held, which is in like some bizarre facility somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
Some care facility. I mean, she's of no use to like the government anymore, so she's just left somewhere.
And she's literally just like, I mean, why is she in such a weird care facility? She literally doesn't have a computer in her brain anymore. She's just
maybe because
normal. Like,
she's kind of like a state secret, and like they want her tucked away. Because like, sure, she doesn't have a computer anymore, but like, if you know her, you could like find out more through tracing where she came from about the government. I thought that seemed reasonably understandable.
Whatever the case is, they got her out there. Our main guy he claims to be a researcher, so he can go out there and see her and study her or whatever.
Yeah.
But this is where the show really reveals to me what the point was.
Yeah.
Which is fetish play for age regression fetishists. Like,
Well, you know, first of all, getting to this point, I thought before she disappeared, we were reaching a point where we were tipping past the point of like, we're talking about clear scenes of active romantic interest, clearly shipping these two characters like a 17, 18-year-old boy with, what's she, like 11, 12? I don't know.
it's hard to say because he himself describes her as like, there's one part where he says, apart from being omniscient, she's just a child.
And I love that about her.
Yeah.
Look, I don't give a shit. I just thought it was a weird choice. Like, just keep her in like the little sister role. I don't know. I mean, he's not going to be romancing her anytime soon.
Well, if you want to talk about weird choices.
Yeah.
I don't, like, this anime to me in a way is like what anime is supposed to be. Anime is all about the fetish. It's all about just taking the things that you want to see and making them real. And this show just went for it all the way.
I kind of respect it on that front.
Like,
yeah.
She gets mind broken and age regressed. She cannot speak. She's just making autism noises, getting her bedpan changed and shit.
God, it's so sad. She's so sad.
It's not fun.
No,
Like,
it's not fun.
If you are not literally getting off on this because this is your thing, I can't imagine why you'd watch it. Like,
I guess for the emotional catharsis where there's some healing at the end and you're like, oh my God, like we had our fun, right? We all the characters had our fun first like 7, 8 episodes. Then we lost her. She lost like her omniscience power, but like there's still her inside, you know? I still love her. I still care about her.
it's just 2 episodes of caretaking this girl, and the dialogue in these parts is fucking atrocious because like there's all these scenes of the other lady who's trying to help him like or she's trying to help the girl recover. And so he comes in and she's like, whatever brought her here was traumatizing enough that she's like terrified of men, just all across the board, right?
Why would that? Men specifically, they make that clear. That's too bad.
She's afraid of men
What
now.
happened to her on the way here?
That's what I was wondering.
I don't know.
The implication. But so he like every time he gets near her, like too close or too shouty, then she like freaks out.
And by the way,
like,
he shouts
he
all
can't help himself.
the time.
Like it's not like he gets like escalated to a point of it. It's like immediately every time he talks to her, he's brought to this point, and then he has to be like escorted out, and then eventually it takes like 2 episodes of this before the lady's like, hey, are you really a researcher here? Like, do you really work here? And he's like,
You know-
no.
And then, the end gets rushed to the conclusion. Watching him, okay, many times throughout this section, now that she's, in need of serious full-time physical and mental care and like education and stuff, I'm thinking like, let's say you get her back, bro. Let's say that happens. There is no way you can take care of her. Look, in the real world, like even if he theoretically gets her back and decides to dedicate his life to taking care of her, I guarantee he will come to resent her. Because caring for someone on your own 24 hours a day, there's a reason these nurses are paid and take shifts. They take shifts, all right? It's not one person you're in charge for all the time. I guess presumably his family will help him out and stuff.
I think about Jun Maeda's work, like, tends to be, like, he's sort of his shows created the modern idea of moe, of, like, the semi-retarded cute girl. Like, all the ooh, goo. Like, ugu is literally him, same writer. The phrase ugu created by this guy.
Okay.
So, like, this is the Ugu taken to the final form, where like
Yeah.
the girl is actually just retarded and
don't
just
like it.
making noises for 2 whole episodes. Ah!
My exit was
Ugh.
like 10 miles back in the road before we got to this point. Like, I can tolerate it, but enjoyment is
I mean,
not a word I would
like,
use.
It would be like I could see wanting to watch a show about like trying to raise a retarded girl or whatever, but
Sure,
like
sure.
the fact that this was a totally different show. They cut the supercomputer out of her brain. There is no like happy ending of her getting her old personality back.
No.
She is on the road to recovery, I guess. Like the whole last episode is like the friends hanging out with her and trying to bring some of that normalcy back, but it's not. It does not come back.
Let's touch on that thread. Okay, amazingly, she does remember him, and amazingly, they allow him to take her away.
This scene,
What?
The back and forth here is like, so they're like, we're gonna move her to another facility that's better, and he's like, hold on, I've almost made a point here. And he's like, got her saying names of people, and they're all kind of like, okay, maybe he's got a point.
Yeah.
And then like he fucks up one thing, and they're like, nah, fuck it, like we're taking her. And it's like,
God,
wait,
the amount of yelling he does, he is like, God, this whole okay, because in a sense we've now shifted into like I was saying, it really is mental disability simulator, and it's like I mean that literally, like it's him learning step by step via simulator type things of like what it's like to care for someone with a disability. He makes a note like 7 a.m. physical therapy, like 9 a.m. breakfast. 10 o'clock is like exercise 1 of the day, or learning chapter 1 or whatever. We're stepping through that, and it is taking it seriously, but it is so painful knowing that she is in a delicate state. She just had her fucking brain cut open, all right? She's healing, barely. He is so fucking... You normally have a shonen protagonist yelling and screaming, and I'm annoyed by that. But it's fine, because he's with his friends who can handle it. This person has legitimate, like, mental illness, and they need to not be fucking fucked with like this. And he just keeps screaming like an anime protagonist. It's making me physically uncomfortable to watch it happen. And that nurse lady who's trying to protect him is the real hero of this story. She's dedicated her life to helping people because her fucking baby died, which we get in her tragic flashback, which was a great little flashback. Yeah, you probably would want to become like a caretaker of disabled children if your baby died because you couldn't save it. That makes sense to me. And I know he wants to take care of Hina, and he's going to do his best. And he's actually set up for the future of, he was an aimless student before he met Hina. At the end, like, I guess I'll go to college because I want to fuck Izanagi, or whatever her name is, Izanami. Instead, I'll go to a different school because I'm going to just become grandpa, her grandpa, and find the cure. I have a life goal. Now, we don't achieve that in this span of episodes, but he has a life goal. Incidentally, this ending is extremely similar to the ending of Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, which the entire plot of that story, the princess has an illness that's going to kill her young. And so this is why she's a nihilistic, crazy character for much of it. But at the end, see, that doesn't affect her mind at all. And at the end, we like see that like years later, like 10 years later, surgery has progressed and they cure disease. Like she's doing fine and she's doing much better and she's gonna be like a fully functioning adult. This is like the last thing that happens in the story, which gives you hope for the future. We don't get anything like that at the end here. We get the vague notion he will, like, what are his qualifications? He's going to work really hard to develop a cure for disease that no one has developed a cure for. And let's say he does. By following what the grandpa did, the government's gonna come take it away anyway. So there is no fucking cure. Where is our hope? What are we supposed to be happy about here?
The cute lolly tries to throw the basketball a few times. That was...
Okay, you're right. Let's touch on that. Because there is a clear message being made here that is, yes. And in fact, while he's meeting her in the facility, there's the question of like, is she even the person I knew, or was that all the computer all along? That's an interesting question. The way it's addressed is he just chooses to believe that it was her in there, and she likes video games, so I guess it was a little bit of her. Okay, fine, it was partially her. Fine, great, I'm satisfied.
Well, he takes her to the basketball court, and then he's like, oh, maybe she was trying to do all the things she wanted to do in a normal life. He's reading a lot into her actions, I'm kind of getting a Coco the Gorilla read here.
As they always do in anime. They love to read into actions, whatever is convenient for them that they already wanted. Well, it's that idea of like, she's still in there, we could draw her out slowly, we can help her live she's never gonna live a normal life. But
They don't even, like, they don't sell me on the idea that she is still in there by the end of the show.
I agree. I
Like,
agree.
It really just seemed to me like, well, I mean, wouldn't, like, if you spent a lot of time with her and were teaching her things, then she would learn things and do things with you. Like, she's just gonna like you because you're hanging out with her again.
I think
you
her
know?
cap is really low. Like, I mean, okay, she's like, I don't know, 10, 11 or whatever. They're doing like basic, like, what is this animal?
Yeah.
She is able to say giraffe with much difficulty. This is a very low functioning person. What is the realistic ceiling of achievement she could reach while she still has this disease? And I don't, is there a magic cure for the kind of like mental, disability that this person has? No, we're talking about like a brain that isn't functioning as well as it needs to. The only way to fix that would be like install a supercomputer that will do all the thinking for you, I guess. But they're just gonna take it away if you stick another one in her brain. So what the fuck?
Yeah, that was the confusing part. It's like there's no happy ending here. Like this is just like I guess like I said, if you have this fetish, then there's a happy ending here, right?
Yeah.
You get to take care of a cute disabled girl, I guess. But like we don't even think he's a good caretaker based on the caretaking we've seen him do. It's challenging to look at this as a good ending from any angle for anybody.
He is an attentive guy. I believe that he could become like capable. Like we actively see him learn over like the week and a half, 2 weeks that he's working with her. He's getting better. He's learning not to yell. And so, okay, that's actually positive.
Them just turning her over to him though was absolutely ludicrous.
It was very hard to believe that just because she said she wanted to go, they know he's a fraud. Who is this man? They're just gonna let one of their patients leave with some fucking guy.
The guy who they found out was lying the entire time he's been there.
So that was a little hard to buy. And you know what?
Also, he's a high schooler.
He is a high schooler. The saddest part of this whole thing, and okay, we'll get to like how you're supposed to feel at the end, but the saddest part was, the whole deal was she was kidnapped when they were in the middle of filming the movie. They come back, now with her, post loss of like her mental acuity and stuff, and they just keep going from there. And luckily, all her voiced lines were already recorded. That was sure lucky, because that wouldn't have been too good for the script, or maybe they adjusted it, whatever the fuck, I don't know. She's just not there. They're acting like, they're pretending that like acting is just being that person and walking through acting is a little bit more than literally physically standing there, which is all she does in these episodes. Like, this is supposed to make me feel good that like, she's back, baby. She's not back. It's not there. The person we knew is effectively dead.
No.
And we'll never have her back probably, because there's no easy fix for this. The whole point, his last line is like, there's no miracles, but little by little, we can live the good days the best we can, baby. This isn't bad. As a story, the fetish stuff, fine. As a story of like, you know, the sadness of like a mental disability and like trying to deal with that in a realistic way, that was fine. But I'm not gonna act like I'm like thrilled that we've lost someone with like such a spark of life in them for someone who isn't. She's perfectly nice. I'm glad Hina's alive and living comfortably. But like, our friend is gone. She's gone. She's not coming back. That's sad. That's sad.
It's sad. It could be taken as like a decently effective tragedy in some sense. But like, at the same time, because I'm not a fan of any of this guy's works, and all of them have a lot of fan base, a lot of fanfare, particularly for being cry porn.
People love cry porn, yeah.
It's always, they all go in this kind of direction, and I have never been able to buy into it because, again, the stuff like the lady just letting him take her home, like, if the story is completely unbelievable, then I just can't buy any of that shit.
And when you get into like the realities of like, physical and care for someone with a mental disability, the realities matter a lot. And we touch on like all those details, but when there's a mismatch, it's hard, it strains credibility for the whole story.
I think a lot of the power in Jun Maeda's storytelling comes from the fact that like, he's clearly like a very intense person who maybe, like, almost all of his stories have like abusive parents in them, some kind of like fucked up family relationships, some kind of mind break and diseases. There's always mysterious diseases, which even he himself had a mysterious disease for a while. I think he lived through it, but
did we know what it is? You know what?
I don't
Who
know.
cares?
It was mysterious.
It's mysterious, yeah.
But yeah, like, just so many of the trademarks of his stories came up in this one, And this is like kind of the most straightforward of any of Jun Maeda's shows. They're normally more chaotic.
It's only 12 episodes. Got to cram it in there.
Well, like Angel Beats was also 12 episodes, and that felt like 4 shows like this in the span of one.
This was only 2 shows stitched together.
Charlotte was similar in that it was like just completely all over the place. So like, I just think Jun Maeda has like a really good sense of certain emotional things that are going to touch with people. That like, if you show people scenes of like abuse and struggle and fucking like these really harsh problems that are happening to these super cute girls, and it's like everybody was just having fun and being casual, and then drama happens and it hits you extra hard because of that. But like, if you don't feel the effect of it because you're just like, oh, well, it's dumb, then all of that goes out the window. And like, most of the shows are really dumb and have really like just the characters, their dialogue is too baffling and unreal. And like, I kind of liked the dialogue in this show before the change because it was almost Tarantino-esque in the way that characters are talking about stuff all the time. Not about like what's going on, but just trading conversations. There's one line I liked where the girl, Hina, says to the main guy like, I got your mom to start adding sugar to this dish. And he's like, I'm gonna run out of the flavors of my youth if you keep doing this. Like,
Yeah,
if
that
you
was
keep
funny.
changing recipes. Like, that's decent, fun dialogue that means something without being like describing the plot. But then when we get into the later part, it's just like you're trying to write a serious scene and none of the dialogue flies at all. None of it sounds natural. None of it makes sense for the characters to say to each other. It's just trying to drive the plot to its conclusion, and that's where I just really stopped caring.
I do think it did get less natural as it went on. Most importantly, though, this is my first Jun Maeda work. Did you do Clan Lad? Is that him too?
Clan-Lad.
Right. I've been meaning to watch some of these, haven't consumed any, so this is the first one. So based on his reputation, like I blame myself for not knowing the kind of stories that he produces, but I feel completely blindsided. I had no idea we were going to go this way from like our fun, wacky friends hanging out, and feel like emotionally abused as a result of it because I didn't sign up for this.
No.
I don't feel that way. But it happened. There were some elements that were kind of okay, but mostly I'm just a little bit like, this just wasn't for me, is the main thing.
I'm feeling like a decent to strong 5 on this show.
I was
probably
gonna say a 5 too, yeah. I've been noticing in my scaling, I really need to fill out those lower ends. I'm so scared to give something like a 4 or a 3. This might be like a 4 for me. I feel like,
It goes down pretty hard, like
Yeah.
a Hindenburg hard, like.
Because, I feel bad. I respect the people who worked on this. There was craft that went into this, but the story itself was like, what the fuck? I'm sure it appeals for some people, but God knows that ain't me. So,
Well, this one hasn't been rated as well as some of his other stuff, so maybe everybody's on the same page as we are.
I think it went down to like a 6 on Mal or a 7 or something.
6 point something, yeah.
I heard some people saying, I was surprised. I was on A, just checking out what people thought about this the other day, and people were saying that like, whoa, that last episode was awful. And I'm like, the last episode?
Yeah, what about the previous? Maybe people just thought that it was going
Like,
to like.
if she was cured, or we like put the brain back in her,
Yeah.
then she'd be, yay, happy again. But I mean, it was too late.
There's no recovery.
You couldn't just make her normal again, or make her a super, or just the personality that we'd gotten to know again. Because then I'd be like, well, why'd you set all that weird shit about how this was
Right.
definitely not going to happen? So it was just a story that was filled with tragedy from the very start, and I guess that was it. Final note: maybe I could believe one man could make a fucking a quantum computer, maybe, but like. How does a
Just
quantum
get it in her
computer
brain.
just put it in her brain and do all this shit? That strains
that was
belief
really
for
fucking
me.
weird.
Pretty dumb show, but whatever. It was kind of okay. Jun Maeda, I don't know, whatever. Keep it up, champ. You're killing it. Clearly, everyone loves you.
King of Fives.
King of Fives. I give it a 4.
All right. That's it for this one. If you haven't already signed up for our Subscribe Star,
Today
get
could
bonus
be
episodes.
the day you become a backer on subscribestar.com/KHANTEHNT.
And send us a video of you saying, "Get here!" And we'll put it at the end here, like this one.